What's up, y'all? It is day 2 on the Scion. All right, so after finding out that we're going to have to pull both axles here to hook this back up and put the tire on so we can rest the weight and break loose the hub.
First thing we had to do is temporarily put the suspension back together.
Now, our bolts are good enough to support the weight, and we'll just put the wheel on. What I'm going to need to do is unstake the other wheel lug on the other side before I break it loose.
You can use a chisel and a sledgehammer. Going to need this 30mm 12-point socket for the axle nut. Leave a couple lugs on to support the weight of the vehicle just in case. Removing the sway bar link, it's a 17mm open-end wrench with a T40 socket.
There is 1 and 2 right here, 14mm bolts holding our brake line, and we're gonna have to disconnect this sensor, wheel sensor, so it doesn't rip when we pull these 2 bolts right here.
Remove the 10mm bolt holding the speed sensor. Wiggle it slowly back and forth. Be careful not to damage it.
These are the last bolts for the suspension. We're going to throw a little bit of a PV blaster on there, and it is a 7/8.
Carefully support the wheel hub and now remove the axle.
Take you all a journey underneath the car. So you're gonna have to break loose. This is a 14mm. I already broke it loose. Now the top bolt is a whole different story. Here's the top bolt right here. See it up there, and that one. In order to get to it, what I had to do is I took this 14mm and you have to weasel it up here. You're gonna have to come up this way with your arm and put your pressure on, and then we move on.
Use a flat blade screwdriver to separate the flange. Make sure to have a bucket or a pan to catch the gear oil when you do this. Slowly remove the axle, be careful not to damage the threads. Now remove 4 17mm bolts holding the support brace.
Here's what I got. I got a jack on the underside of the trans with a piece of wood. And I have my breaker bar. It's a 14mm on this top mount right here, and there's a 14 on the back to keep it from spinning. Take out 1, 2, 3, 4 19mm, and then we're going to slowly lower the trans and get ready to pull the front brace. Now what we have is this front transmission mount down here, and it's a 19mm, and I already have it loose, and I put some PV blaster on this thing so I can't get you a better shot. I think I might be able to pull it out with my hands here. And there is our 19mm.
Now we have to remove the front of the subframe. It is 4 17mm bolts on each side.
Make sure that you can see where both of my jacks are, one supporting the tranny, one supporting the engine. As soon as I drop these 4 bolts, we only have one more thing holding. Not like that. There we go.
Now we have to move back to the top of the car. Use a pick tool to remove the 2 clips holding your shifting linkage.
I popped it. See where I popped it off the spindle? Right here. Boom. That's the best shot I could really get. We got one more to get. Deal here. Real tricky to get. Not sure.
Now you're going to have to remove 3 12mm bolts holding the linkage to the transmission. I tried to get the best shots I can. Bolt was the easiest one to get to. Now we have to remove the 17mm bolt from the transmission mount underneath the car. There is one more 12mm bolt remaining holding the linkage to the transmission, and the only way to access it is from underneath the car. Remove the 14mm bolt holding the starter. We can now begin removing the upper bell housing bolts holding our transmission to the block. Remove the 2 17mm bolts from the bell housing. Remove the lower 17mm on the side of the bell housing.
These guys, different lengths.
Remove the 14mm bolt it is hiding over by the front transmission mount. There are 2 more 14mm bolts towards the firewall.
I heard it crack.
Now remove the 4 remaining 14mm bolts holding the transmission to the block from underneath the car. If you follow the steps correctly, you should be able to insert a screwdriver in between the block and the transmission to start working a gap. Be sure to watch next week's video as we finally get the transmission out and figure out what was causing all our issues. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.